Alright, people, this is what we're looking at. Tabs, totally accurate battle simulator. One of the best games I've ever seen. Funny. I've completed most of it, and I'm now going to tell you a story about a Hafling that rose above all in a world where Haflings are mistreated, disgusted, just plain slaves, and how this particular Hafling managed to beat every single faction there was. The story starts out on a normal farm, but in this Tab's universe, Haflings are degraded and used as slaves. All they do is pick wheat and work for all the farmers with no pay. No one really cares for them at all. Some tried to, well, no one ever tried to dare to face against them, to be honest. But this particular Hafling kept on trying to hide out, get away from every single person, because he didn't think that the Haflings deserved to be treated. But one day, the farmer catched on to what he was doing. Actually, it was the harvester, but either way, he was there. The Hafling started walking towards him, trying to beg for mercy. But obviously, the farmer did not listen. He was mad because the Hafling kept on skipping work, not like it mattered in any way. So, he tried to swipe at him, and missed. So the Hafling tried to hit him, but failed instantly. So, like all the other Haflings, he was forced to work. Day in, day out, it was all just work. Nothing good. But one day, he was really tired of it. So, he constantly kept on sneaking off, getting beaten by... So, he decided up with a plan. When the farmer wasn't looking... I'm just gonna call him the farmer. He'd go to his house, over here, where he'd proceed to work on something. No one knew what it was, and the farmer didn't like him sneaking off. So every time he was caught, he was repeatedly beaten by the farmer. Every single time. The Hafling just decided to fight back, but of course it did nothing half the time. He even fell in the river once. It was pretty embarrassing. Sometimes he thought he could escape, but obviously he couldn't. Either way, he was beaten, he was bruised by the farmer. Until one singular day, he came out looking like this. He wasn't a normal Hafling. He had a sword, armor, cape, and a helmet, and pants. The farmer was enraged, finding out that every single time he had to beat him, he was just stopping him from making clothes. And he thought this was useless. So, he decided to try and beat him. But the Hafling attacked and swiped at him, stabbing him multiple times until he killed the farmer. With the farmer now dead, he united every single one of the Haflings. Who then decided to join him, to stop being discriminated against everyone just for being halflings. So, from that day forward, the halfling army had become a thing. We then go over a few years later. We then go here to the wheat fields, where multiple halflings are forced to work day in and day out because of an evil. Because this was where the armor faction was used. AKA had the halfling slaves. All these people kept guard against it so that the halflings would have to work day in and day out, no matter what happened. They had wheelbarrows, and the owner of it all? The mighty Scarecrow. Yep, a Scarecrow, don't ask. Point is, all of them had to work endlessly as the halflings kept on having to pick at wheat, trying to do their job for no pay at all. But that's when one particular day, a certain halfling showed up. He was known as the King Halfling. Oh crap! No, 1 second. Sorry. He was known as the King Halfling, with the shining shield, shining sword handle, full golden armor, and a shining helmet. Oh crap! Sorry, guys. Point is, he was there, and proceeded to demand every single halfling be freed. Scarecrow laughed and simply threw one of his crows at him. I can't show that because all these people are here and they will take a pain at him. So he called up some. Suddenly, rows of soldiers came, all wearing the same exact armor he did on the day he killed the farmer. He then yelled, "Attack!" and so the war had begun. It's lagging. Oh, I know it ain't. I'm gonna just pause here to show you how this looks. Crows flew, and tons of halflings kept on swiping their swords at basically everything they could see. It was a little fight. For the king, this was normal, for he had already killed people. In fact, he encountered many battles on his way over, specifically from other farmers and basically everyone up to this campaign area. He received to swipe. He killed us just like that, and eventually they killed the whole faction. All that remained was the Scarecrow, which the king was a man of his. The Halfling King was a man of his words and declared a duel. In return, they give over everything. If he wins, they give over every single halfling. If they win, they get to kill the Halfling King. This surprised every single one of the This surprised every single one of the soldiers, who were then told to walk away. But the Scarecrow decided to play a little dirty. A line of harvesters were placed. And there sat the king of the halflings. And so he attacked. He struck the scarecrow with shoot. Oh, sorry. Struck at the scarecrow, killing him instantly, but then having to deal with every single bloody size that kept on occurring. He kept on attacking, and eventually he killed every single farmer just as easily as he killed the one all that time ago. It looks cool because he impaled him. Anyway, the scarecrow, realizing he's been defeated, proceeds to let every single halfling go. The scarecrow was about to walk away, but then the halfling king proceeded to leap at him and kill him. For the scarecrow was no more, and all the halflings were freed. That's it for that action. One day, the halfling king proceeded to wander off, exploring other areas. He ended up wandering off into the tribal faction after getting lost. He thought there was no one here, but all of a sudden, a bunch of raptors ran in. The king proceeded to swipe and kill a single one, just like that. He then realized he wasn't alone anymore. There was more factions, and he thought maybe some halflings were here. So he retreated back to the halflings and told them to gear up and come with them. They ended up arriving at a mountain with a giant gaping hole in it. The halfling king decided to go on alone, while every single one of his warriors stayed back at the... He had no idea what he was expecting from this place. Was it dangerous? But then all of a sudden, he saw a clubber walk out and then immediately tried to go back in. The halfling king proceeded to chase after him and kill him. Then, hearing the sound of it, two more tribal people with shields came out. The king decided to make quick work of them. They did run away, but it was pointless. All of a sudden, spearflames came out. He then realized what was going on and decided to go with it until they all went out. They tried for the spears, but the king blocked them and simply took them out. But that's when this time, tons of stoners came out. And that's not the name, they're called stoners. They then proceeded to walk up to the king and threw tons of stones at him. But also hurt themselves because they're king. See, the king killed 5 of them at once. And then like about 4 or 6 of them. Don't ignore the glitching out of his shield. He simply made quick work of them after getting stoned. Damn it! But then a bone mage came out. No one else. But then some people with clothes that kind of looked like them came out as well. And that's when a bloody mammoth came out. Shielders, spear throwers, and clubbers. And at the very back, a U-shaped area of stoners. The king realized what was going on. The Bone Mage was the leader. So, he decided to speak with him for a minute. The Bone Mage simply ignored every word he said and decided to attack him anyway. Well, the Halfling King tried to tell them that if they didn't have any Halflings, there was nothing to be afraid of. He's simply just mad because for no reason, the king has already killed some of their people. He firmly understood that and called every single one of his troops up. But this time, there were these weird... Some of them had undressed and got cannons for some reason. The king asked why they did this, and they said they were tired of having those just use melee, and decided to go full savage and use cannons. A few of them lined up, and when I mean a few, I mean a couple, while all the rest of the normal warriors came out just like that. Now with the new surplus of halflings that have already been trained, they got a few more soldiers. The king said, attack, and then the battle began. Alright, I'm gonna just pause it. If you didn't see, the king left down and literally killed almost so many people. He already killed the mammoth. That's how powerful this guy is. Where's the king? One second. Can't find the king. King. Oh, there he is. The last stoner fell, and so did the faction. There was no duel for this time. The Bone Mage sat there, realizing all his people have gone. And then, one of the savages. Well, I know it says halfling cannon, but I'm gonna call him savage. Savage. Halflings. Came up, and the king allowed him to. And then, shot him. But then he realized. But then the Bone Mage killed him. So, the king preferably went up himself and slaughtered him. There was no halflings, so no addition could be added to his army. He realized this was just a waste of time, and he lost some people just as he thought halflings were. To correct his mistake, he went to one of the biggest halfling places he knew. The medieval faction. He sent some halflings out to explore, specifically just a couple of them. And a few savages. He liked the king. But then there was a lonely little bard who kept on singing, but was then immediately kept on getting shot at by the savages. He was hit and dead. But then they found out what he was planning for. A group of squires appeared. And when I mean a group, I mean by 2 whole rows. They then decided to charge at the Haflings. Most of them got shot at, but they tried to make quick work, but these Haflings were so damn strong. The savages kept on walking back while shooting at them. One squire somehow didn't get hit, but then immediately, as he was feeling confident, a cannonball hit him in the chest. But then, out of nowhere, a bunch of arrows rained down and killed half. The king realized this and went out there to see a bard playing for some squires, while archers sat in the back, finding out about the king. The king was enraged that they killed him, so he got up some of his troops, maybe a few savage cannons over here, and then he wanted to charge, but realized there was more than one squire. So then, he just went for it. The king proceeded to attack and mostly kill many of the squires as the bow and arrow people tried to shoot at them while constantly getting slaughtered by the others. The king personally slashed at the last archer, and this group of people were done. So, they thought they might as well explore along. But then all of a sudden, a knight, and behind him, healers. They all healed the knight. The king came to attack, and it didn't really help him. Okay, he needs. The healer simply healed him back. And then a bunch more healers came. A bunch. Like, I'm trying to make a good story. So, they all healed him. Single one. He was basically invincible at this point, right? Well, the king knew what was going on and proceeded to kill the healers first. Now, to protect them, the knight fell down pretty quickly. So after that was dealt with, they decided to go to where all these people were truly coming from. The castle. The castle is where they saw the most daring thing they ever saw. A halfling stuck in a tower. In fact, more halflings stuck in towers. Some were stuck up high, but either way, there was tons. People were just stuck. They couldn't get down. They didn't know how to get down. The worst of it all, some of them were on a giant tree branch. Why'd I end up? Point is, they weren't even doing anything. They were just sitting there, worrying if they make one more move, they could fall to their death. The king was enraged by this and called every single savage cannon to come on in two giant rows. tons of savage cannons. And in the middle, all there stood the king and tons of catapults. And I mean tons. The king simply offered the halflings to them. The king of the halflings, still enraged, decided to agree. And so he got all the halflings. But then he realized something. The catapults weren't there, and the king was still there. And all of a sudden, some knights came. And there was a whole row of healers, every single one possibly for a different knight. The king then realized he's been fooled, and the king standing there brushing his goatee or whatever it says. I think it's a beard. Point is, all the catapults were eyed ready to destroy every single halfling that the king offered. All the halfling troops, and especially the halfling king. The king yelled, "Charge!" And so they did. The catapults all fired, causing a ginormous plate of smoke. But it didn't much. All the cannonballs were shot, causing every single one of the catapults, except a few, to stay alive. When that was done, the king and they were endlessly shooting. The king doomed himself as tons of other halflings were there. Point is, he ended his own life. He screwed himself up. And now, half of the halflings and troops were dead because they realized that they've been tricked. The halfling king told every single troop to go back to base, set up a few groups, and make one of them in charge. So, he left. No one knows where he went. But I'm going to tell you where he went. He went to a nearby city to go and rest. Little did he know, this was no ordinary city. This was the Renaissance faction. One of my favorite factions because it's the first faction to introduce a gun. Well, maybe, I don't really know, but I don't care. The king, when all of a sudden, saw a painter well, the painter looked and yelled, "Fire!" and proceeded to yell at him with threats, anger, and insults. The king, honestly tired of this stuff, decided screw it and just started charging towards him. It turns out it was all in his head. But then he realized he was still doing it. So, he decided to charge. But all of a sudden, something happened. A hand grabbed him. He started pulling, as if something was picking him up. And then, the king slashed him, not knowing what just happened. Then, he noticed 3 fencers coming out of the balcony. He realized what was going on, seeing how he was used to it, and proceeded to try and charge. But then, something grabbed the fence here. Still confused on what was going on and how this was happening, the halfling proceeded to ignore it and just walk and just leave. But of course, this is the Renaissance bench, and he had to get something. Suddenly, a musketeer shot it, but he simply reflected the bullet. And then, the same exact hand picked him up and proceeded to smash him into the wall. Proceeded to grab him as he still tried to shoot, and then just threw him into the river. The king, utterly confused about what was going on, and in circles trying to figure it out. But as he stopped, he realized that the hand was gone. As left when everyone was dead. But he had no idea what was going on. But he originally came back to conscious. But then he saw balloon archers, all ready to shoot. He already knew what was going on. But since he had no army, he couldn't do it. So, the balloon archers started shooting at the king. He then started floating in the air, and tried to knock some away, before falling back down and still knocking some of the balloons. Started knocking them away. And kept on proceeding to try and kill, but he just kept on getting up there. He didn't know what was going on. Some of the balloon era people got caught in balloons, and it was like someone had already shot at them. But the weird thing was, the king was thinking about giving them a taste of their own medicine. He then thought of it again, and all of a sudden, tons and tons of balloon arrows hit the other balloon archers. It came out of nowhere. He had no idea what was going on, but most of the archers were dead from all the balloons. He kept on firing. He kept on knocking away the ones that were being shot. All of a sudden, every single one of the archers have been shot with a balloon arrow. The king hurried back outside and he started thinking, but he immediately rejected, knowing that it couldn't be possible under any circumstances. So, he then proceeded to try and catch a boat. Get out of this place. The rowboat kind of looked like a musketeer. So when he asked him, to row the boat, he simply got off, and then he realized he was holding a gun. The king already knew what was going on and simply just prepared. The musketeer shot, then but the king accidentally tripped into the water. Knowing no tavern person was able to swim, simply fell off of the map into the river. This is where he ended up going to a place. You see, he killed somebody. And when you kill somebody, most people say that you go all the way down in tech. So, that's exactly where he went. The Hafling king looked. But due to the light from his armor and everything, it was very hard for him to see, but at least it lit everything up. But then some skeletons with swords came along. And one of them said, creepily, "It is time for your punishment." But the king knew that this would be easy. So he simply swiped and killed all the skeletons at once. But then they simply just reassembled. There were more of them now. So the king just swiped at them again. He couldn't kill them all in one shot, but it was pretty easy. And of course, they were grown back. And the king was furious. But this time, in the middle of it all, there was apparently some person whose hands were in a lock and swords hanging around about him. But the king did not mind. He simply wanted to get out of here, not knowing where he was, and just kill the skeletons. He tried to do it again. He killed most of them. But then tons of swords kept on flying at him from the mysterious victims. He didn't care enough though. Simply killed him in one shot. He then got a surprise attack in form of a pumpkin cat. So that all mixed. He then proceeded to swipe at every single one and kill them. A bunch of bats came by. Little did he know, those weren't bats. They were vampires. He kept on sucking on his blood. He was dying quickly until he truly died. But suddenly, he woke up in the same exact place something happened. And in front of him, the Reaper. The king then finally decided to ask, "Where am I?" The Reaper simply said, "Heck, a low life for sinners, people who have killed. I have seen you, Hafling King, fighting for justice. Usually this would be acceptable to go to heaven, but I hate that. Halflings cause tons of people to be dead down here, and I love death. My name is literally death in some places. But either way, I do not like how you've been giving justice to them, and how so few people have been going down here because of you. But on the upside, tons of other people have been coming down here. Whole factions, because you and your dumb halfling army. Don't call the halflings dumb. I do not care. Point is, I am going to offer you a deal. You can be one of me. A guy who can torture sinners for what they did to all your precious halflings." The king thought about it for a moment. Not only would he be able to live forever, he'd be able to kill tons of people who have wronged halflings over the years. Grim Reaper looked at him in the eye. Like that one beat when that guy from Star Wars says, "Do it." Sorry, I lost the track. But then the king swiped at him. But the Reaper simply came back, as if nothing happened. You made a terrible mistake. One of the biggest. You usually defeat armies with an army, but this time, you're defeating tons, all on your own. Suddenly, tons of catapults appeared. 2 of the weird fellows, a whole bunch of skeletons, 5 vampires, and some lots seen before skeleton archers, some weird candle heads, and right behind it all, the Reaper. The king was ready for this. Immediately, he jumped at some of the skeletons. He avoided them, but then the vampires caught up to him. Not knowing what to do, he suddenly hoped that something hit them. And so, something came. All of a sudden, musket bullets just appeared and kicked off the vampires. But that's when it came to the king. He wasn't, truthfully and metaphorically, he wasn't a normal halfling. But he really wasn't a normal halfling. He killed the skeleton, and as he was getting hit by sword captors, they were simply dragged off the edge by the mysterious hand. When the pumpkins tried to launch them, he made the hand grab himself and launched him over behind him. But that also proves a new problem. Every single archer and every single person that was behind them was aiming at him. And that's when everything started to go up. And this wasn't because of him, it was because of the Reaper. Everyone started to go up, the soldiers, everything. But sadly, he was killed. Even with the powers, he couldn't do it. And so, the Reaper sent him down, even further than hell. Which is something that looked like a fantasy. That really wasn't. Until the king said to himself, "Who the heck am I?" To be continued.